up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Apex, the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. And by we, I mean E is back. It's been a long time. It's been too long. 2 weeks. It was, he's a changed man. He's a changed man. I'm very happy for you, E. How have you been doing, bro? We're gonna get much more into it in the heart to heart. But just how are you doing? How's everything holding up?
I would say I'm a bit tired, but overall, like, life has never been better than it is right now, and it's just it's that simple.
Yeah,
Like,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really just that easy.
It's a beautiful thing. Well, congratulations, and we're both super happy for you. Like I said, we're going to talk about it more in the heart to heart. But E is back, and we could not be more excited, more happy. We also have some Rostermania stuff to get to, and I think the biggest one is our current champion right now, Split 2 Phony. He couldn't find a home for a while, and he found one, but it's across the globe. Phony is moving to APAC South to join Guild Esports. He's replacing MT as the IGL with Jesco and Legacy. And he put out a tweet today saying he's looking for a house in Thailand. So dedication through the roof to be able to be like, I'm just going to pick up everything and fucking move so that I can play in champs. You got to respect it. At a certain point, you just got to respect it, you know?
It shows how much these guys really, when they say, I want to compete, I want to be at LAN, I want to be at champs, how much they actually want to be at LAN, how much they want to be at champs. And, like, freaking Jesco and Legacy with MT down the middle was a solid squad. And, like, they came very close to winning. Like, both EWC, they had moments that they could have won. And then at the most recent LAN, they had moments that they could have won. So I'm not saying that MTs couldn't get it done. Dude's an insane IGL and undoubtedly in like that top 5 to 10 argument always. But you're sticking Phony in there, who also is a lane champion. So I see it as like a lateral move almost, in my opinion, because even MT, like, very good mechanically, but I think even in the firepower department is like lateral, like, kind of movement with Phony. You guys could kind of like tell me what your thoughts are on that. But yeah, I'm excited to see how that roster does still. Legacy is, as we've said a couple times, but if people aren't familiar with him, dude is talked about as like the next up demon MNK fragger and everything like that. So yeah, just cool. Hopefully now that Phony's got a spot, good things that come.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the team. It's definitely, I think, one of the first times we've seen an NA pro go to move to a different region to compete. We've seen plenty of outside regions coming to NA, and so now we'll be able to see, like, okay, the expectation is that Phony's going to take his NA experience, come into APAC South, and just run that shit, and we'll see what happens. I mean, APAC South is an incredibly strong region, and we've seen them well represented more and more lands as we have them. And so it's going to be cool to see it from like an absolute, like, I don't care what it takes, like, I'm going to get it done. Like, that man Phony is out here, like, Apex Comp is his job, and he's going to get that job done, whether that means he's doing it from home or whether that man's flying to Thailand and living with his EU teammate as they're all joining together in this APAC South ragtag bunch. It's going to be cool to see how it plays out.
Well, yeah, on that topic, like, Arctic is doing the same thing, joining Legends. So everyone wasn't sure about what was happening with Legends. A lot of rumors going around that Strafing Flame was coming to NA and that was going to join Koi and Zainu. I haven't said it for a while, but someone told me a couple weeks back that wasn't happening. So I kind of knew, and I wasn't trying to like really push on the rumor anymore, because I was just trying to figure out who could possibly join them, because I truthfully thought it would be Strafing. But like, anyways, so like, yeah, so like Strafing sticking with Player K, and they got Arctic, who played for FaZe and then had got dropped just before EWC, actually, just before EWC. Because I was gonna say just before Germany, but no, like, there was the roster lock happened pretty much while at EWC. So yeah, both EWC and FaZe was looking good with like altogether. That roster was Synetic, Arctic, and Taxington. They were kind of like on a dream run, even though they didn't make finals at Split 1 playoffs. but actually no, Arctic was at EWC. My apologies, because yeah, I have a cool story that my first day there, I was just talking to the guy walking me around. Someone goes, "Oh, Jumbo, what's up?" I turn around and I have no idea who it is because he doesn't use like face cam. I had no idea. I was like, "What's up, man?" He goes, "I'm Arctic." I was like, "Oh, sweet." I'm like, yeah, always cool when someone knows who I am. Like, and I felt bad that I didn't know who he was, but yeah. So, anyways, long story short, they're moving to Legends. Player K streaming game still sticking together. It's not easy flash. I know, like, that roster is still there for a long time, but having 2 out of the 3, that's still like a top 5 roster. And FaZe did really good at EWC with Arctic there, so I'm excited to see what they do.
NA lost its fastball. Everybody's going to APAC South now. We lost it. It's over. NA no longer greatest region. NA no longer greatest region. That's all it is.
Let's see what those two
I wouldn't
teams do in
go.
BLGS.
Let's settle down there.
Yeah, we'll
let's
pump the
settle down
brakes
there,
there.
Mr. Navi top 5. All right, guys.
Listen,
from the
with
same
Finn
mouth
gone,
who said Navi top 5 is where this is coming from.
that looked good for a little bit. It looked good for a second, okay? And with Finn gone, I have to take these crazy takes.
It's just group stages.
Yeah,
see, that's the thing.
But like dude, they look so good though.
Are we going down this road again?
Yeah, I'm just saying they look so good, and I am ready to load the clip up on. I might even say Navi top 3 in.
Okay, let's pump the brakes. Let's.
I didn't say I'm going to do it yet. I didn't say I'm
2
gonna do it
weeks
yet.
and I come back and why it's what?
Yeah, I needed
Wait
you
a
here to
minute.
keep me grounded. Is really what it is.
Wait,
but yeah,
is Navi at champs? Did they qualify?
please tell me they qualified.
Am I wrong? Like, yeah, I think they did.
I
mean,
thought I saw their logo.
Yeah, they qualified. They qualified. They
Okay,
got
thank
enough
God.
points.
You scared
Just
me
'cause,
for a
Just
second.
because I knew they didn't make finals, I wasn't sure if they got enough points. But I mean, I know the big story we wanted to get to, but I just thought of one real quick that I wanted to kind of talk about. We haven't had Enoch on since Jen Burton got dropped from Falcons and they moved in Waltzy. And like, I just have to Enoch, like, this was your super team for so long. I just need to know your thoughts on that. They dropped like one of the trio from like the super team. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so I'll be honest. I was completely where at least the way that How describes it, it sounds like there's been this beef that's been building up between Jin and Zero, which I, for one, I just had no idea about. I don't follow him like that, but obviously after 20th place, any amount of like beef that there was, you were like, okay, well, like, I don't like playing with this guy, but we're just too fucking good. We just do it. And then when you lose we're just too fucking good, when that just gets swept out from like underneath you, then it's just like, okay, I guess you're going to make a switch, which I don't, I think Waltzy's an incredibly talented player, but I wouldn't necessarily say that he is an out and out like upgrade from Jen. I definitely I don't even think that change necessarily like fixes their problem, because like, at least from like the way that I'm looking at it, they just need a fucking Newcastle. They just need somebody who can actually play the Newcastle role, play it at a high level, and they went and they got Waltzy. And like, I'm not like, Waltzy's an incredibly talented player, but he's not a fucking Newcastle. Like, he ain't been playing Castle. And guess what? They still don't know who's playing Castle. They had Zero on Castle for a little bit the other day. Now they got Waltzy on Castle. We've already seen what Hal looks like on Castle, which, not saying that he's terrible, but he's not a Newcastle player. And so I mean, I don't think that it's necessarily like the best decision, but I'm excited to see how it goes. Waltzy is like somebody who I genuinely will like always like wish to do well. And so I hope it goes better than I'm thinking it will, but it doesn't seem like it was like a move that fixed what it needed, like what they needed to get fixed. At least from my perspective. What did you guys think?
Well, honestly, I just wanted to kind of like grind your gears a bit just because of the conversation we've had. But like, no, you actually bring up amazing points, and I agree. Like, first of all, I love Jen Burton. I think that guy is still like one of the GOATs and will go down in history as one of the best players to play. But like, Waltzy, especially like right now, has been one of the best players in the game. So switching to Waltzy, I don't think it's a downgrade. I don't think it's an upgrade either. I think it's also another
Yeah,
lateral
no, like
move if we
absolutely, like
talk
they're
about.
two of the best in
Yeah,
the world.
yeah, exactly. I think it's
No,
like a
no,
lateral
no
move.
slander to either of them.
No, and I know you weren't. I'm just like kind of like
Yeah, for sure.
reinforcing the point, right? And so, but like I do agree in a sense that like the only thing I'll say about Jen compared to Waltzy, and this is just maybe because we haven't seen Waltzy play too many different roles yet, but like when Jen needed to step down from being a fragger and play a more anchor role, he did that and like immediately won a LAN. And like he's shown that he could be flexible, that he could be that guy that was going to go put out the most damage on your team and drop a ton of kills, and he could be that guy that's gonna go like also anchor and like hunker down and fit that role. Like he's very been adaptable, right? Waltzy, I just haven't seen it with him, and Waltzy always has been that dude who is like, even when he was IGLing, was putting out the most kills and damage on his team. He is a fragger. He did not like IGLing. He wants to be back in that role as a fragger and everything like that. And now he has said he will just do whatever his team needs. So if his team needs to be him to be a Newcastle, he'll learn the role. And I believe in these players that they can, with time, they have a lot of time before champs, can learn their role, right? But I do agree with you that I don't know if it fixed their problem, because like their big thing is like they were struggling on who needed to be that castle. I think it was a little bit more glaring when they needed to also run a crypto, because they didn't know who the hell was crypto and who the hell was castle. But yeah, like there's like a little bit of that glaring issue right now. Hal, as much as he is like the greatest player in the game, really excels well on those aggressive player characters. So I feel like it is going to be Waltzy who's going to be the one that's going to find his position in that anchor. And just because we haven't seen it, I agree that I don't know what their solution to their problems was right now. Maybe it
Yeah.
was just a vibe thing. Maybe it was just a vibe thing, and maybe it
I
will solve it, but who knows?
Yeah, but if this thing was happening for a long time, I don't think it was a vibe thing. I think what Enoch said was kind of what we had mentioned when the whole thing went down first. Was there was a lot of teams. We talked about this right after Split 2 playoffs. There was a lot of teams that are very good teams and very good rosters that just kind of got completely screwed over by a meta that just didn't fit the squad. So making any sort of change is moot unless you get somebody who fills in the role that you're assuming is going to be needs to be played at champs, right? Like it just doesn't really change a whole lot, because you can add in whoever, but if you don't have somebody to play that pivotal role that other teams have and that are utilizing correctly, then you're not really gaining a whole lot. The only thing I can really say to that point is there is a whole lot of time in between then, so players can, probably pick up and learn. But if you're trying to tell me that somebody's going to get as good of a castle as some of these other teams have in this short amount of time, I just don't know if that's going to happen. Like there's some teams who have legitimately great Newcastles that have been great Newcastles that we talked about in Split 2 playoffs, that I don't know if somebody can just fill in and become that, no matter how hard they work, because those teams already had that before.
What I will say though is that it's October 1st, and and what's it called? And EWC was around the beginning of August. Like I think it was August 3rd, right? No, yeah, it was like around there. Like I was down there in July 29th. So it's been roughly 2 months. And in that time, we have seen 3 different metas. There was like EWC was Fuse, Pathfinder, Bang, like there's like some mixtures in there, but there was a lot of Fuse, Pathfinder, Bang. I remembering that one because that's who won. And I don't know why I'm blanking on some of those, but regardless, like that was that. And then this most recent one, suddenly we had Newcastle, we had Bang, we had then after obviously Crypto come back in, right? And like it was a completely different meta within a month. And it's October 1st, and we're seeing these BLG scrims, and later on we talk about it with Alb, and like there is just a lot of different comps going on. Valk is back, Cat is back, like full force all of a sudden, but that might not even be the comp people play. Like Bang suddenly for the first time in 2 years almost is not like being dominantly played, not even like an 80% pick rate in these scrims. Like and again, no one even knows, because there's so many contests going on. No one even knows what the solid meta is right now for the characters. So we got until January 29th. There is a possibility that none of these characters we're even talking about right now are going to be meta. Nothing that we're talking about is even going to make sense. And I think from that perspective, you're better off picking up someone who is so fucking good like Waltzy than going for like a specialist in like the Newcastle role or something, or like
Yeah.
that anchor role.
No, that makes sense. But then at the same time, if it goes to a comp that once again favors Falcons and goes back to like, oh yeah, we are the fucking best, and it's like, damn, we really made a move that we didn't really have to make. And even though it is a lateral
Mhm.
move, there might just be little things here or there that Jen might do differently than Waltzy that can mess with the dynamic. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. The moves were made, and they're going to figure it out. I mean, these are professionals.
Dude, that's 3 players that won it.
Yep.
That is 3
Yep.
players that won it. That's 3 players that are gonna put that are gonna be able to put in the work that they need, and they're just gonna show up each and every day, ready to put in that work. And so, from a pure hard work standpoint, they got it on lock. They've never been more motivated, I think, in probably any of their careers. Maybe not Waltzy as much as the other 2, because I mean he didn't get 20th, but he's got a decent amount of pressure because they're he's the guy that replaced the super team that everybody. I mean, I was a big proponent. I was going to call him a super team as long as they were together.
Yeah.
And now it's crumbled.
No, I think Waltzy might even want it more because he was so close at split 1 playoffs and they were dominating and they were one of the first few teams to hit match point and they came 4th there and that was his best. It was the first time he kind of tasted that closeness to top 5 at a LAN.
That is fair.
Yeah,
He is the only one on the team who hasn't won one yet.
And then EWC, they were doing really well and it was Falcons, but then next to get match point was Aurora, Mizuchi, and then I can't remember the third team off the top of my head, but they all got it second tied in game 7, and then they fell all the way down to 12th from being in second at one point. So that's a lot of money lost there, and they didn't close out the tournament. And then they were the best team at freaking Germany all throughout. And then 10th on the last day. So I think Waltzy's at this point I need to fucking win, man. I am getting so close and falling short every time, and I think he's the one who might want it the most. So
and when we talked to Waltzy this last time, I don't know if you got this vibe. I brought this up in the pod last week. That dude just looked so locked. He I said this last week. He was calling out the entire NA region, being he doesn't want it enough. He doesn't want it enough. He's I'm not going to say names. Started just ripping names. Just
the funniest thing. That's the funniest thing. He's I won't name names, but you know this person. It's
He immediately started naming names. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, I said last week on the pod that these were the 3 most motivated players that I've seen. And we've never even talked to Zero, but we don't need to know how motivated he is. We know what we got with Hal when we talked to him. And then last time we talked to Waltzy, it was there was no listening to the first interview with Waltzy, we were having a good time. We were chopping it up, having some fun. The second one, it was he was all business. And I don't know. I just think when you put all 3 of those guys together, it can work, especially if the meta does change, there is that big potential to be. So, yeah, that's the Falcon stuff that we got going on right now. And those are Enoch's thoughts on it. So we already talked about Phony a little bit. Moving on with Guild, we got to talk about the new Moist roster now. With MT leaving Guild, he moves over into NA with Moist Esports, and he joins champions Zainu and Koi. So those 2 have their IGL now. I agree with what you said earlier, Jumba, about the lateral move thing. They both kind of provide a very similar service. And when we talked to Phony, he had said a little bit about how he wanted to kind of change that narrative a little bit about what he was able to bring in terms of the firepower department. So we'll see how that goes. I'm sure MT's in the same boat. You never want to be the guy where it's he's great at this, but you never want to have that but at the end of it. So we'll see how it goes. But I do agree with your analysis of pretty across the board. I would say pretty even.
I think the thing is with MT is he's just he's another guy who just didn't have to put out the damage. He was always playing with Waltzy and he was always playing with guys who could put out a lot of damage. He's playing Guild, right? So, in a sense, I say that it's a lateral move, but even Phony, you're playing with Zainu Koi, you don't have to put out the damage because you got those guys there doing it for you. So that's, I think, why it's more so of a lateral move. It was just two very similar teams, at least in my eyes, where you just had insanely talented controller players, like, and like even take the controller out of it, just like fraggers. And then you have your IGL who like kind of like plays a little bit further back. I think MT does have the firepower, and will be able to like mesh well. It's gonna be an interesting squad. And he's back with Moist, and I know how much that dude loved that work, so it's cool to see him back there.
Yeah, so that basically does it for the rest of all of the news, everything going on around the league so far. The only other thing is I need to talk about the fact that Jumba's chat wants me to move up into the second sub position, but he won't do it. I don't know why. If you're in his chat, I would continue to spam move Wyatt up to the second sub. Don't know why he's not doing it.
Well,
I
Enoch
guess I'll
might have
throw it
something to do with that. Enoch might have
Why?
something to do with that. Well, because if you see in the screenshot I sent you, it says those are all raid viewers. Those are so Enoch sent them over to my thing. He said, "Go tell Jumbo to move Wyatt to the second sub." Right?
Yeah.
Did you do this? I'm assuming that's what happened.
I don't know what he's talking about.
I'm assuming that's what happened. I'm assuming
There's no
How
evidence.
did you have your first scrims?
I have my first scrims. Yeah, so we're scrimming.
How'd it go?
As that's happening, Enoch. Right before it happens, Enoch hits me with the raid. Or no, sorry, it was the day before where we actually didn't get into scrims. But anyways, I just want to talk about that because it's pretty funny. Because one thing I want to highlight is that everyone starts spamming move Wyatt to the second sub spot. But then I explained that the second sub spot is your 10-month-old daughter, and everyone suddenly agreed. Move Wyatt down to the fourth sub spot. So like,
who's taking the third?
Well, someone.
I'll stay third. I'll stay third then. I'll just stay third. We'll just do that. I mean, me and my daughter, it's very similar to, it's a lateral move, right? It's a lateral move.
The funny thing is, so then the next day we get in, and I don't know if you understood because you tweeted out. So like we did good. We got fourth. And honestly, we were second for most of the day. Our World's Edge games, first one was kind of sloppy, but moreover made some great calls to get us into like honestly a dodgy position, but like we were working our way in. For scrimming, I'm not gonna lie, first time scrimming, I'm proud of myself for like this one specific moment. Like so much going on. We're surrounded by a bunch of teams. I fuck up my Newcastle wall and I don't get it in zone. We're like getting pressed by the zone, and out of my right ear, I hear little tweet, which is the freaking down noise, and I'm like, someone down's on right. We should climb. And Morover's like, okay, I'm gonna wall. He's playing cat. He doesn't have to wall because they give us a wall, and we climb, and that got us into a high ground position because we wiped the squad. Gets us into a high ground position where it gets us fourth. Now I kind of threw a little bit. There was a rampart on our right side. Moreover puts up the wall. A lot of input going on. I ran to the wrong side of the wall. It didn't even matter. That rampart shit on me in 2 seconds. But we got fourth with some KP. We're like, good start first game. Second game, we fucking win. World's Edge games are just absolute bangers. Third game again, Olympus now. It was kind of weird. It was 2-2-2. World's Edge, Olympus, and then E District. I was like, man, they're nerfing me not putting Storm Point in here. One of the maps I know. But Olympus, moreover, calls the zone from like first circle. He goes, we got to get back here. We go to the spot he wants. We can't get it. But we go and we have a console next to us. We go for third console, and he goes, go back to the spot we're just holding. It's good. And like we see though that like the zone literally went to the first spot he pinged. Literally the building, the exact building. Great call. Now, moreover, unfortunately, was lagging constantly because of the hurricane and everything like that. He's from Chicago, and just the winds alone were like even though he wasn't in the hurricane, the winds were affecting him and kind of like knocking his internet out periodically. So I think we actually could have won that game, but there was a couple key moments where we had like seconds to make a decision, and like we had to kind of wait because like we had to wait for his internet to stabilize and just kind of like anchor out or like anchor out a position. But like yeah, really good calls there, really good damage. Gwen, she might as well be our fragger. She was our because we don't have like defined roles yet, but right now she was our Valk player. She's got like 35,000 players kills on Valk, so Valk being meta right now is perfect for us, and she was crushing it. Yeah, she was finding kills for us constantly. And yeah, so that went really good. Our last 3 games, we don't talk about publicly, but behind the scenes we talk about because that's what we're going to learn from. The next Olympus game just didn't go too well. And E-District, none of us have played E-District enough to understand it. So like it went terrible on E-District. Yeah. But the fact that we still kind of like in scuffed ways got some points out of E-District. The fact that we were pretty much in second up until game 4 and then finished 4th overall, I'll take that. For a first set of
Take it.
scrims, it was like, I know it's not like the most competitive lobby. We didn't have like, we're not going to have like we didn't have ALGS pros in it, but we did have some tier 2 guys who are very good. Some like top Preds that are very good. Like the number 1 team dropped 100 points on the lobby and everything like that. But I'll take it. It felt good. And I'm thinking when Moreover doesn't have internet issues, we'll be solid. We were looking for a sub. We're looking for a sub. Thank you for sending me Connor's number. That was perfect. It was great. I
just got cocked out of my own role. I didn't even know why I was sending like the number. I was like, oh, I need something with editing. No, he was just stealing my spot. Shout out Connor for just stealing my spot. Here's the thing. Do you guys need a nutritionist? Because I know the guy for that. Do you need a team nutritionist?
I can use a nutritionist, sure.
I got just the guy. It's me.
Yeah.
It's me.
I'll take you.
I'll
you want to drop
nutritionist.
some, like, I'm not even lying.
What's the number 1 dirt?
That they should be eating before games?
Yeah. What's the
All right, you want
dirt?
something nice, you want something clean, you want something good. I'm thinking Chick-fil-A, okay? We go
said
Chick-fil-A.
Dirt.
Oh, you want some dirt.
What's the number 1 dirt?
Number 1 dirt?
Like a red mahogany or something like that? Like, like that stuff you get in Ireland?
Maybe. Well, I do live in the agriculture center of the world. I made that up off the top of my head. But California does have a lot of agriculture, and I'll just send you some dirt. I could get you some dirt. Yeah, I could get you some dirt. I could send some over.
Appreciate it.
If you need it.
I thought you actually had knowledge in nutrition, and like I've been telling myself, I gotta like get back into being like healthy, lose some weight, and something a lot of these pro players do is work out and focus on their health. Like, so I was like, you know what? Part of this video, I am going to incorporate that, like me like bettering myself holistic. And then you hit me with Chick-fil-A in your first one, and you're fired, man.
Well, here's the thing. Well, hold on. I didn't even get hired yet, number 1. And number 2, the thing about Chick-fil-A is feel good, play good. Chick-fil-A, you feel good, therefore you play good. Also, if you need a team like a personal trainer, me.
I do need my thumbs. Can you relocate for 3 months and be on site?
Go to Canada? I could.
Yeah, come to the Toronto.
I think I could.
Come to Toronto.
I mean, I'm pretty ripped myself.
Come celebrate the Leafs with me.
Yeah. That went well last time we did that. So no, I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear that everything's going well. I will finagle my way into this team somehow. It will happen. I'm going to keep knocking on that door, and eventually it's going to open for me. But I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear you guys got the first win under the belt. Nothing better than that. And ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing better than who we have coming up in our interview. Albralelie, back for the second time on the show. First time was a damn long time ago. I'm pretty sure that was before Lanimals, the last time he was on the show, or like as it was happening. It was a long time ago. And so we have Albon talking about his journey, making it all the way back to champs for the first time being at a LAN in 2 years? Long time. It's a long time since he's been on a LAN. So we have a great conversation with Albralelie, and we'll talk to him about just about everything competitive-wise. Also talk a little bit about some stuff on the outside, some other things he's doing. So without further ado, ladies and gents, let's send it on down to Albralelie. All right. Here we are, ladies and gents, with another very special guest on the pod this week. Second time on the show. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've seen him on the show. But here we are with Albralelie back on the pod. Al, my man, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Stuff's been feeling really good. Feeling a lot better recently.
Huh, interesting. I wonder why. It's probably been a good couple weeks for you the last few weeks. I guess that's where we could start is obviously like you made it, man. You made it to champs and you're heading to Japan. How does it feel? Like just kind of going through some of those feelings of just like, okay, I'm in there, I'm locked in, I'm back at LAN. How are you feeling with all this stuff going on recently?
A little nervous, but mostly confident. It's been a while since I've gotten to, step foot on stage again. It's been like a good 2 years, or well, not good 2 years. It's been a rough 2 years. So I'm glad to be back and show everyone I still got it. I'm not just washed. That's my goal this LAN.
Well, you
I'm
certainly proved it.
absolutely, oh yeah, for sure. I
Mhm.
was gonna say I'm absolutely stoked to have you back there, and like, well, obviously, yeah, from all of us, I'm sure. Congrats. But then, how does it also feel like Japan, like of all places, like this is like they're talking about going to be like the biggest land to date. They got a lot of crazy stuff planned. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that you're like a pretty big fan of Japanese culture, right? So like, how does it feel to be that's the one that's your return?
Yeah, I mean, this is the one that I really, really wanted to go to. Like, obviously, you want to go to every LAN, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the LAN in Japan has always been like the dream. You know, like since the game came out, everyone's always been like, "Oh, dude, it'd be so sick to have a LAN in Japan." You know, so it's really cool to like, actually make it for this one. Um, but yeah, I mean, I like Japanese stuff. I I like food. I watch anime. I've gotten into VTubing recently and all that stuff, and you know, it's cool stuff, man. It's cool stuff.
No, absolutely. But I mean, I kind of wanted to also delve into like we're gonna come back to LCQ. We're gonna talk a lot about it, but like
Hmm.
just real quick, if you don't mind, like about some of the years leading up to it, like what got you to this position to get back here and have this kind of like redemption story that you're working on right now. I guess you could kind of say, do you mind walking us through sort of like the 2 years and just what some of maybe like the trials and like the tough times were that like throughout the last years of pro league, because the last time you were online was I think that year 2 championship. So what do you think
Yeah.
kind of was going on in that time that kind of had you not where you maybe you want to be?
Um. Well, I think the beginning of all of it was this started in like season 13. So with season 13, obviously like the ranked system came out and everyone loved it and all that stuff. Or well, at least the pros really really enjoyed it. During that time, me and Naughty were grinding for rank one, and we kept trying to get Zach on, and he just he was doing his thing. He was making content. He was playing games of Shroud. He was playing a lot of other stuff, and that kind of I guess that kind of planted a little bit of resentment in me because like he's our leader, at the time. So it kind of felt like he wasn't matching effort, and that was leading into champs. And then when champs came around, um, we were doing like a role swap. We were taking me off of Gibby, we were putting him on Gibby, and I just didn't feel comfortable with that because he wasn't playing. So that's kind of where like things started to like fall apart. I lost a lot of faith in Zach. I looking back on it, I should have just let it happen, but I tried to, obviously, I tried to take a little bit of control and be like, no, just put me back on Gibby. I don't know if you can do this. It's too soon, like all that kind of stuff. And that was kind of like the real downfall, I guess, was starting to doubt my IGL in that instance, and then thinking that I could just take on that role moving into another team. Um, yeah, moving into phase after that was rough. Was really really rough. I brought Slurp on board with Snipe because Snipe wanted to play with me, and I was like, hey, I think I've got a guy because I played with Slurp a lot, like a lot. We played a ton of rank together. We had really good synergy, all that stuff. I had a lot of faith in Slurp, but I think there was just not enough like role. Like spread out of roles. There's too much overlap on the team. Me and Snipe played really similarly. Slurp kind of overlapped a bit with Snipe's role. We didn't have like a dedicated, like defined anchor or fragger or anything. Um, and our comms were just a total mess because of it a lot of the time. So it was really hard to get anything going on that team.
The interesting thing is because I was listening to the last time that you were on the pod, and I know I wasn't there, but Finn was talking a lot about how he felt like that was kind of, you had swapped and you were trying a new role. Snipe had just come back from Halo. Slurp, he had competed before, obviously, but and again, correct me if I'm wrong. I know he like competed a lot in year one, but like
Yeah.
never really so much in pro league, like in the format, the 6-week format, right? So it was kind of
I
like
think
his
they
first
made
time.
Pro League once. I think
Okay,
it was him. I don't remember who it was. I think it was him, Zednim, and James. It might
okay,
have been James.
could
It
have
might have
been.
been Golden.
It might have been Golden. Yeah,
You know
it
what?
was
That
one of
sounds
them.
familiar. Like I think even for what you guys are talking about in the pod, yeah.
Yeah, that was the gist of his experience.
Yeah, but so like it was kind of like, you guys just had a lot to probably like work on. And I actually even remember like the first week you guys like played. You guys, I think, got like second or like you got like top 5 at the very least, and everyone was like, "Holy, like this is gonna be such a sweet roster." Like Alb coming into the
Yeah.
IGL role, like everyone was really excited for it, and you just found it felt like you couldn't get that footing again. But regardless, like what Finn was saying is like with time, maybe that could have been like a really good roster, but there might have been just like I know you were talking about the comms, and there's just like maybe some like internal things that weren't able to
Yeah,
work
there was
out.
too
But
much internal stuff. We
mhm.
just kept um we just kept changing comps too much, and I was not. How can I word this? I was afraid or nervous that Snipe was because like it was his team, you know. Like
Mhm.
I just got brought into it, and being a leader, like it being my first time trying to lead, I felt like I kind of had to like dance around a little bit, you know, like walking on eggshells. I couldn't like fully just speak my mind and give the direction that I wanted to without like upsetting Snipe. So that was something I was worried about that I shouldn't have been worried about. And I think we would have done a lot better if I just really took the reins and like did what I wanted to do. Because the first I'd say week and a half of the team when we all started playing together and Snipe had just come back, I think we were doing okay. We were playing some weird comps, but we were doing good on them. Um, but when we started like really playing a bunch of different stuff, I think we changed comps 6 times or 5 times or something like that. Once that all started happening, it really, really started to fall apart because roles just couldn't be defined or like even like worked on because we were playing something different every session almost.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it was an interesting time for sure. Do you think that then after that, like the tough thing that kind of happened was it seemed like there was a lot of teams that were at the top that started this year we've had Rostermania like insane, I feel. But
Yeah,
like at
yeah.
that time it felt like there was some core teams at the top that all stuck together and it felt like fitting yourself back in there was tough and you ended up bouncing between a bunch of teams. Do you think that's what kind of like also prevented a lot of what you want to accomplish in Apex in that era?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I didn't how can I word this? Going into like stuff after phase was really weird because like honestly I was kind of over IGLing, but the only options I was getting were ones where people wanted me to IGL or like it
Mhm.
was my only option really. So it kind of like put that thought in my head where I'm like, okay, if I want to stay in the scene, I have to become an IGL. I can't just keep being a fragger. And then with like obviously controller getting more popular and like MNK fraggers getting phased out, I was like, okay, now I really have to. And I just kept pushing myself, I think, in the wrong direction. Um, and now I'm back in an MNK fragger role and at champs, which to me feels good. It's like I'm kind of back in my home role, you know, because that's where I was at the beginning of it all. I was an MNK fragger, so it feels good to be back into that.
Yeah, absolutely. As we get into it, I'm kind of excited to talk to you about some of like the meta shifts with shotgun meta, especially because you have always been like that just MNK fragger, and then especially the Gibby era, even though like Gibby is not technically was a fragger, just I have so many memories of like you just like going crazy on Gib. But I want to see like if Wyatt and Enoch had anything that they want to continue
No,
off with first.
I thought that was so interesting the way you talked about the different ways you kind of bounced around the scene, and I feel like what is so interesting about your story and how long of a journey it's been, and how all of these different areas that we've gone down. I guess you would probably be, in my opinion, more than a lot of others out there, the oracle at knowing when something is just not going to fit right, and when it, when you have something good moving forward with the team. And I guess the way I want to phrase the question is, what are the most important pillars of knowing that you're in a good situation in competitive Apex, and what are some of the pillars that you're like, okay, this is really really not good, because you've seen kind of all of it.
I think most successful teams share two really common things, or well, I shouldn't say really common, but two common things, and it's a very confident and strong leader. If you look at teams like Falcons, you have Zero. If you look at teams in the past, you had Hal with TSM. You have Sweet still. You have Nocturnal. You know, we have a lot of really really strong and confident IGLs in the scene. And then with them is typically someone who is kind of an anchor. I think the anchors are kind of like the glue for rosters. You have people like Reps, people like Fun. On 100 Thieves, I'd say it was Scurry, which is why I was really happy to work with him again. Because our problem before was that we couldn't find a good fit, and I wasn't a good IGL. So we had one piece of the puzzle, really. Um, I think that that's like really the core of a roster, and your flex can kind of fit in and do their job. Your flex is typically your fragger or your, just a flex. They're the least crucial part of the team to an extent. Obviously, they need to shoot their gun, but the team's not going to fall apart because your fragger can't frag.
Yeah. No, it's definitely interesting because we do have, like, I think a lot of times the anchor does get lost in the conversation. Like, people will talk about them, but it kind of gets lost on how important it is to a team and how pivotal it can be in leading to a lot of success for a team. The other thing I was interested about is you have gone through all of these journeys and it's been very public. Like, a lot of people have seen the different areas you've gone and the different, statements or whatever. What's the number one thing that people get wrong about the last 2 years before you qualify for Japan here? What's the thing that you wish that people would understand about being in your position at that time?
Ooh. How can I word it? The number one thing that I think that people misunderstand about me is it might be because of my tone, just the way that I talk. Um, it's not that I think that I know better than a lot of people. It's that I try to be helpful, but I kind of maybe just say things the wrong way, and it makes people think that I believe I'm better than I am, or I'm a better leader or something. Like for example, the counter calling problem that I used to have, that was like 90% because of my tone. It wasn't like I'm actively looking and doing the wrong things. It's the way that I was saying it. And that's the biggest thing that I've like had to work on and change over these past 2 years was getting my ideas out there without it seeming like I'm commanding. That was like the hardest thing. And that's like the biggest thing that's like, or one of the biggest things I feel that's like really, really hurt my reputation as a player and as, someone that people like to watch.
You know what's interesting and kind of like funny off that point that you're saying? So
Hmm.
I was talking to you about how I did like the TSM video like before we started this, and when I was doing research for that video, now again that was like before I had done any other content, but I worked on that video probably longer than any other video because I didn't have any deadlines to me, so I had 6 months
Mm-hmm.
to kind of do that video, and I had remembered from that era everyone talked about like Alb and Hal used to fight all the time, so
They
that's what
did.
split up the team. Even though you guys did though, you would think that it would have been something that was like that, like if it happened so often and so bad that you would have found a lot of clips about it. And I searched for days and I could not find a single clip that outlined like a fight. And I finally got to the point where I didn't include it in the video because I'm like, I can't find proof. And like maybe I'm delusional. I
There
don't remember
was
this
there
stuff.
was one clip that stands out in my head that I'm sure Hal remembers too, where we were zipping to Sorting Factory from like the north. Like there was a zip that led to like the donut building on the north side of Sorting Factory, and there was a team in there, and we had a knock, and I was like trying to get us to fight it, and he's like, "No, we can't fight that." I was like, "Why? Stop being such a fucking pussy!" Like
I actually
there's that
remember
clip.
that.
That's like the only clip that I can think of because I at the time knew that we were like the best roster in the game, and it's like if you're the best, if you're like looked at as the gods of the game, why are you scared? You know? That's like the thing that was in my head at the time is I wanted us to, step up and play more aggressive and look into different things. And I don't know. That roster fell apart because of a couple things. I'm not going to like go too deep into it because it's 5 years ago now,
Yeah,
right?
of
And
course.
I still to this day get people like, oh, when are you, Hal and Jordan, going to get back together, or why did you leave? And to clear up just a couple things, I've cleared it before, but more people will see it here. I didn't leave. It was dropped. It is what it is. But that all happened because I'm putting it onto COVID happening. It broke my mental horrifically because I felt like I worked for a really long time to get to where I was, and I was finally getting my dreams of going to LANs and stuff like that. And then the world shuts down, and I was like, just my luck, you know. I was like, what's the point anymore? So I mentally exploded, and when I do that, I kind of have a bad habit of self destructing. I try to I break everything. I burn bridges. Yeah, it's not good. But I've gotten a lot better at not doing that as much. But back then it was really bad. So the boys really didn't have a choice but to drop me. You know, I was just a detriment to the team. But
I mean, I think the highlight of that is that, like, first of all, that was a time that I think a lot of people also kind of like block out of their minds. COVID was like terrible in that beginning era, and like it's understandable if people's mentals are breaking. But then the other thing that you're saying here is that, like, oh, it's 5 years ago in that time, like, you've developed, you've grown. And the reason I only even brought this up is to kind of almost say, like, a lot of people I feel like bring that stuff up still as reasons why it didn't work out. And like I said, I couldn't find clips of it. And clearly, I think a lot of viewers make things up in their heads than what was maybe actually the truth. And obviously, only you know what the real story is, what happened behind closed doors. I'm trying to highlight more of like the assumptions that I see a lot of viewers make that aren't fair, such.
dude, the worst part of that is when they brought me into the call. So like at the time when they brought me into the call, I had a bunch of my friends over, and like my friends were in the room, and like all I could say, because I didn't want my friends to hear what was happening, was okay. Then I just left. Like that's all I could say. Like I can't like try to talk that out in front of like all these people, you know?
That's understandable. I think you're fair on that one. That's got to be tough. Like just think, damn, that one's got to be tough.
That is tough timing. Like that is just so unideal.
I literally had like 6 people in the room, and I'm like, oh hey guys, I gotta take a call real quick, and then like that happened, and I was like, okay.
And then you still had to maintain having 6 friends, or like, what do you even do after that? Like,
right? Like,
grab some beers and start drinking.
No. Unironically, I was like, guys, let's have a drink. Let's go take a walk. You know, like,
that's nuts, man. That's nuts.
Yeah, it is what it is.
One thing that you had talked about previously was that a thing that you've been working on is like the tone and the way that you go about providing like your inputs. So what are some of the other key things that you think you've been working on over the past couple of years that has made the difference in you getting back to LAN caliber, ready to take it on?
I think the biggest thing with this roster is that I'm putting a lot more trust into my team. In a bunch of other rosters, I feel like I've been kind of coming into broken homes. Like, for example, like I'm going to use Furia as an example. They're both great players. They're both great guys. But that roster was so dysfunctional, even just coming into it. And I felt like I kind of had to be in a hero role where it felt like I had to do everything. Otherwise, nothing really like happened. There's a couple other rosters that I've had that with, but that's the most recent one. And with this roster, I don't feel that I have to be the hero, or I don't feel that I have to do everything. I can really like rely on Luck and Crook to do their jobs and to back me up and support me when I need it. And yeah, I think that's helped a ton.
You mentioned a few times earlier that, and I find like both times we've had you on, you've been very insightful about yourself, and not a whole lot of people have that ability to kind of mirror and see exactly some of the things that they struggle with and what they need to work on moving forward. And you've done it both times that you've been on the show. 2 times already you've mentioned I was not a good IGL. What do you think the main reasonings behind that was?
I'm an overthinker. That's why I'm good at anchoring, because any threat that you think might come, I've already thought of it. So my problem when it comes to IGLing is that I think of too many things at once and I think too far ahead. I think so far ahead I can't see what's right in front of me. That's the problem. So I work much better as either a co-IGL or as a hard anchor to make sure that we don't die. Because like I'll be the first person in any team to point out who our threats are when zone has to move. I'll be the first person to point out places that we can't let someone be. You know, I know and I recognize threats really, really well, and I've already thought of ways to like deal with them if they happen. Um, but yeah, when it comes to moving teams, that's where I really struggle with. I really struggle to like get us places. I can come up with where we need to be, but I can't think of how to get there.
Is that also why you come up with such creative plays though? Like, I mean, like I know,
Yeah.
like we're going all the way back to the Pathfinder days. Like, I don't forget that grapple over the mountain. I never will. like you know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about? Like, that also I feel like would apply to that though. Those creative plays that we all loved seeing.
Yeah, it definitely did. It definitely did. Characters that allow me to be creative with like my utility usage or my positioning are where you really, really see me like shine as a player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's one of the best things. It's one of the best qualities to have. And I kind of you talked about some of the teams that you've been on throughout this whole journey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know this, but there was a period of time on this very podcast where I was exclusively talking about the Lanimals every
Mm-hmm.
single episode, like just over and over and over.
Yeah, I know.
I
I've
only
seen a couple of them.
I only watched Lanimals. That's all I watched. All I cared about. I just wanted to see the Lanimals do well. And I missed that era so much. And it's so cool to kind of see how each individual player from that team has gone on and done, this or that. But I just wanted to go back to that Lanimals team and kind of get your thoughts on that. Was that one of those dysfunctional teams? Do you miss playing with those guys? How was that Lanimals experience?
Um, I really believed in animals a lot. Um, I I left TSM for that team because I believed that we would be free agents for maybe 2 months. Because like going into it, we had a couple offers, we had really good, really high hopes, we had great performance. Um, but there was just like the personal conflicts on that team. I think Lua and Naughty just couldn't iron some things out. I think Naughty was in a rough headspace at the time. He's been doing so great now. I'm so proud of Naughty and so happy to see that he's doing well and he's back on C9 and he's just doing great, man. Like that's one of like my best friends in the scene. I'm so glad that he's doing well. But I wish that team could have stuck together and like figured things out because I really think if we played LCQ together, we would have made it. We just needed like to just iron some stuff out, you know. Like we all live in the same area. We could have gone fucking chopped it up over some dinner, you know, like just figured it out.
Oh, dude.
But there
I
just
wish it
wasn't an
happened.
option.
Yeah, I wish it happened so bad. There was just so many moments. And at the time, like at the beginning of this show, really, I was kind of like just hosting. And really, the Lanimals is kind of what got me really excited to tune in every single week because I've always been like a one team kind of guy in any sort of sport before ALGS. And I had my team and I was going to watch my team and I was going to lock in and just pay attention as close as I could. And there was so many like great moments, great games, but there was also some of those tough ones along the way. Where did you guys? I think you guys were. Where did you guys end up on that split? It was close. It wasn't
I'm
too
pretty
far
sure.
off.
I'm pretty sure we are 11th, like with
Yeah,
a
just
couple
one
Yeah,
points
place
off.
out. Just one
yeah.
place out.
That was so tough. It was, but
Yeah,
it was one of my favorite eras, man. It
yeah.
was
We
it
would
was one of
have
my favorite eras.
we would have made it if we didn't waste the first. I think it was 2 weeks playing the comps that we played.
Mm-hmm.
We got 11th with 4 weeks played basically
Yeah.
because the first two we did really bad. Going into it, we were playing Wraith. Going into week one, we were doing really really good in scrims. We were popping off, and then like we played game day, and we are like, this doesn't work. Like it was just so drastically different from everything we practiced that none of it was applicable, and we had to completely like rebuild our game plans from the ground up.
Wyatt's become like a big C9 fan. So I know like he talked
Mhm.
about Naughty and
Yeah.
Lanimals, and like I'm just bringing that up because Lanimals is like, you kind of have Zach removed. It's just funny. He's a big C9 fan now, and he's like 2 eras removed from what I think was my favorite C9 roster. Like watching you guys run it down at champs and everything like that, and then they got you up on the comms on the screen. And you're just, no, Naughty, find me a fucking flatline right now. Just such good times, man. Such good times. And like, yeah, if only like that worked out, and who knows, maybe you guys found your way back to C9 again. But I mean, that moves into, I was curious because that kind of moves into LCQ of that year, right? And I know this is probably gonna, we're really like piling on here a lot of like the bad stuff, but it's trying to transition into this LCQ. You guys were like 5 points, I believe, off of just making it to LCQ. And the other thing is I wanted to talk about, we talked about this in a podcast 2 weeks ago that unfortunately got deleted. So I was going to tell the story again, where when you were there, I don't know if you remember that last game that was the one that Dojo won, that the zone looked like it was pulling to no name. And you guys, you with Furia, had like the best position. And it was one of the craziest pulls to go from all the way east all the way back west to where the dojo was, and then they close it out. If that zone pull doesn't happen, I'm pretty sure you guys are going to land. Do you remember what it was like going through that last game?
That shit broke my heart. I'm not gonna lie. I think that unironically was also what broke everybody on that team. When that happened, I think that broke all of our confidence and all of the momentum that we could have had. Because like it felt like after that, no one wanted to work. It felt like we were showing up to work, but we didn't want to work. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think that right after that, that's when like everything started to fall apart there. But that sucked. That sucked. I really like. I was riding a high, man. Going into that last game, I was like, dude, we're making it. I'm doing it. I can actually do it. I was like, this one works. I think I can lead this team. And then that happened. And I was like, dude.
Yeah, I feel like the shitty thing is just like so out of your control. I still remember my reaction, and it's recorded somewhere because I was streaming it. But I was like, Furia's gonna fucking make it. It's pulling right to them. And then I'm like, Dojo's got absolutely no chance. They're still in thermal station. And then the zone ends outside of like Harvester, and they're right there. I was like, wait, what? Like a Harvester, but like Harvester to like in front of Frag. And I was just like, it was the most puzzling. That's, anyone ever wants to talk about the most unpredictable zone pull ever, I'll point to that game probably.
Yeah, that was crazy. That game was actually crazy. That one actually made me like make a rule in my head for like no name zones. Where like most of the time, if I have a choice, I'm not playing in there early, bro. I'm gonna get ring 3 and I'm gonna play for kills on edge, and then I'll get in there. But I do not like playing in there early, man.
I mean, that being said, I don't know why.
It worked game 1 of LCQ.
I was about to say, if that transitions right into LCQ game 1, where you guys have a no-name zone, and it's kind of like it's the full circle right now, right?
Yeah.
You guys go and you guys absolutely not just win that game. You guys dominated the fuck out of them. 24 points, I believe. You guys are coming in with advanced starting points, 10 points, so it puts you right next to the match point. But then it's a Pathfinder meta again, basically, at least for LCQ. And you guys were so aggressive and dominant about it. So talk to us maybe about that finals lobby, and that especially that first game. I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, I mean, the first game, we tucked in there. I trust Crook. Like I said, it's about trust. He was really confident that it was going to pull like right where we thought, which is between those two buildings. So we just tucked into the best house we could, and we just had to sit on our hands and let the game play out a bit, and then pick up kills as they came. And yeah, I mean that one was a super free game, and the Pathfinder crypto comp obviously took us a long way because we're all on our comfort picks. And not just that, but all those characters are like specialist characters. Like those are like, you have to be someone who mains that character to really get the most value out of them. And it was all 3 of our mains. It was Newcastle on Scurry, me on Path, Crook on Crypto. We were all just so comfortable. And it worked in the meta that we were shown in LCQ, where people were like playing Watson for some reason, and other crypto teams and stuff like that. But obviously now things are much different with all the catalysts and stuff. Like we just can't play crypto anymore. But yeah, those games were good. We just took advantage of people playing Watson because if you're crypto and people are playing Watson, they're the freest kills ever.
Yeah, you mentioned Scurry on Newcastle though, right? And since he is such like a specialist character, and with like this Newcastle meta forming, do you think that's giving you guys like a massive advantage that he was not only like one of the like I feel like one of the only pros, especially in North America, I can think of that played Newcastle prior
Mm-hmm.
to this, but also got third at a LAN doing that in
Mm-hmm.
champs 2 years ago. So like, how does that feel like having like just like that specialist there?
Yeah, we've got our powerhouse support. That's like, funnily enough, we picked him up specifically to play Castle, like when we were bringing up who to play, because it was me and Crook looking for a third, basically. And we really were like, okay, we should play a Castle comp. Castle looks really, really strong. We could copy, like we were just going to copy Furia's comp because we were like, this looks so good for us, right? Because they were playing Path Crypto Castle and PL and in the international scrims and stuff like that. Um, so we were like, yeah, we're just going to play this. So we had to find a Castle player. And in my head, I was like, I know my last run with Scurry didn't go that great, but I don't really think that was his fault. So it's time to run it back and give the big man another chance, you know? And me and Crook are both really, really glad that we did because like we literally played with him, I think, for like a week, not a week or a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks at most before LCQ. We really did not have a lot of time to like play together and practice. And he slotted in immediately. And it was like, it just clicked just instantly, you know? There wasn't like a growing period or anything. We were just destroying people.
And so you're back on M&K Pathfinder, and this is coming off of you were regarded, at least I feel like it was pretty well regarded. You were like non-debatable like top 5 mechanic M&K player, and then you switched to roller. And then can you walk us through your decision to come back and play M&K again?
So here's
Was
the
it
funny
the
thing
point
with
3?
that.
Is it because of Pathfinder? Like what's
No.
going on?
Here's the funny thing with that. 2 days before LCQ in the Boom TV tournament, my controller broke.
Yeah, I heard.
That's
about
the only reason I swapped.
Destiny.
My
I
controller
heard about
broke.
this.
So I went back to M&K because I was like, there's no way I can get a replacement roller in the next 2 days. This is not
How
happening.
do you not have a backup? What?
Dude, I have gone through not to flame Battle Beaver because I they're great guys, right? And like they get rollers made and their stuff is all good. But I have gone through 8 controllers in the total of 9 months that I have played controller.
Holy shit! What are you doing to him?
You're worse than Guild.
It's because I shoot with my bumpers. I don't shoot with triggers, and my bumpers give out. So that's what happened in the Boom tournament. I was trying to ADS, and my bumper would flicker. So I would just spam ADS and un-ADS.
Is that with the digital clicks?
Yeah, it is.
Oh wow.
See, if I were you, I would have like a and something that I would do is I would always get like 2. So then I'd have the backup ready to go, just fresh in the box, waiting. So when the one gets shocked, you had the next one ready to go. But I mean, hey, it appears that it's worked out for the best. And so you went from you weren't even thinking about it to then controllers chalked, played out the tournament, and then you're like, oh well, this worked out kind of well. I'm gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we would have made it even with me on roller. Like I don't think the input made any kind of difference, but at the beginning of the season when the nerf happened, I was kind of like, okay, well now I'm shooting the same way I would on M&K on roller. I'm like, I don't really see much of a difference. Like, there's not much here that I'm doing that I can't do on M&K. So I was gonna swap back, but almost every team offer I got was like, hey, we want you to play controller, and I was like, okay, well this is weird now. Now I've gotten myself in a bit of a pickle, and you know, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll stay on roller since that's what people still want, I guess. And yeah, so I was just chilling on that, even though I knew I could do the same thing on M&K. And then, you know, at breaking, I was just like, all right, well, fuck it, we ball.
Yeah, fuck it. There we go. It's go ahead.
I was
You had
just
to
saying,
go.
on the topic of Pathfinder and such like that, right? Like, I was listening again to the pod from last time, and you were talking about how if Pathfinder ever made it back into meta was if his ult got reworked. And it's kind of got to a point where it's not so much reworked, but it's been buffed, like that 25% damage reduction.
Oh, it's 50.
Is it 50?
It's 50.
Why did I think it was 25? Or whatever I was reading was like outdated.
It was 25 at the beginning.
Okay, so then what I was reading was outdated because I was double checking my facts. So yeah, okay, 50. Regardless, like it's pretty insane. Like I know Pathfinder moves faster on the zip. Like, is that kind of what you had in mind, or like, do you think? Yeah, that's like. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. He needed just damage reduction or to make his zip faster, and then they did both. So
The other thing is like like for a long time everyone kind of joked about him not having a passive, but I find like now, especially with the recons being 100%, the fact that he could scan them, get his ult back faster, and then also having the ability to like scan. I don't think scanning actually the care packages gives it back to him anymore or reduces cooldown. Long story short, he can have it does. So yeah, he can get it up so often, his ult, that it's just like made it so strong, and his passive, even though it's the same passive, is so strong now, and like he's
It's
such
that
a good
energized zip. That energized zip is just game changing.
That's what I'm saying.
Just
Like, the energized
insane.
zip plus how often you could have it up is so good for rotations.
yeah, it was really, really good for us.
Yeah, I mean, even that old kind of Al Pathfinder was. There was the one game in finals where he just grappled, sent it over top of the fence, and jumped on the Newcastle team. You're like, we gotta do this now, and like it's like, oh, that's an old Al play.
Yeah. So that one, I can actually explain that play because some people think I just hard entered that. So basically, we had talked before how like if we blow up our if we use our EMP, we have to like make a play off it. We can't just like use our util and do nothing. And like the play with the EMP was so rushed that in my head I was like, that's my cue. Like, because like I'm our entry. I was like, that's my cue. I have to go. So I went and I was just hoping that like Scurry or someone like saw what was happening and were able to react. And obviously that was not the case. So I just blew up.
To be fair, I heard your comms after that where you literally explained that exact situation. And then you guys had the zone like right on your back, so there really wasn't much option. You had to do something there. So it was kind of a fair play. It was tough.
Yeah, we just had to send that. It was so unfortunate.
So we've talked about all the moments leading up to it. We talked a little bit about, leading into that finals lobby. But the thing that I always wonder about in these moments like this is when somebody's gone through as much as you've gone through over the last couple of years, and then you finally reach the pinnacle, the moment you've been waiting for a very long time. And it's not the top of the mountain because you still got a long way to go. You still got some champs you want to win, but at least getting there and being able to qualify. Was there a moment of just pure bliss, relief, joy, and kind of reflection on what you've gone through, or was it just like I haven't even accomplished what I want to do yet?
There's still more that I want to do, but there is that like that bit of relief where I'm like, all right, I think things are going to get better again, because for a while I was really like, man, I'm cooked. Like it's over, I was looking into like different stuff, like going harder into content creation and stuff like that. That's why I got like, or part of why I like got the VTube model made and all that stuff. And because I was just going to really lean into that and making content. Like I was like, if we didn't make champs, I was going to go to Deadlock and focus on making content there because there's not really content to be made in Apex very much, unless you're rank 1 grinding. No one really like cares to watch the stream very much. Or if you're like a good comp team, that's it. People watch scrims and they watch the rank 1 player. Or unless you're like Fade or someone, who's like just been pub stomping for 5 years. But that's like all the content is. So I was gonna like pivot to just the hardcore content avenue and making a bunch of stuff, but I don't know, man.
Yeah,
it's
We've kind of talked about on the show the staring at the ceiling type nights, which are those nights where you don't know what you're gonna do. Every decision just seems like you're picking is the wrong one. You can't seem to get your feet underneath you, and to be able to qualify for this must have been just the biggest change in all of that. And I'm assuming moving forward into this next, like getting ready for champs, you have to be the most motivated you've ever been at this point.
Yeah, yeah, I really am. Honestly, like I'm doing everything that I can for the most part. Because a lot of my gameplay comes down to my headspace, right? Um, so I'm just trying to keep my head on straight and keep my teammates' heads on straight when like if scrims aren't going well, because like BLGS is, you know, the the scrims are a mess. We're not doing the best every day. I'm just trying to like keep vibes up and be the vibes guy when I can. And yeah, I kind of lost my brain. I kind of lost my brain in the middle of
Happens to the best of us.
that.
I could hear it mid. I heard the sigh. I was like, I think he just lost his thought.
He started thinking about BLGS scrims. He's like, oh, those were
like,
terrible
oh
to get today.
He had like he had a war flashback. He was like,
I did,
"What the
bro.
hell?"
I did.
I love it, man.
Here, if you don't mind, let's talk about this. In that last game of LCQ, was there any moment where we were like, oh fuck, we're winning this. This is our game. Like we're closing this one out.
As soon as we killed that team, that was like when we were like in that little room and the team from inside jumped out and they went wide. As soon as they did that, I was like, we won. And then I saw the one last team in front of us on the height, and I was like, if I just send this and I force them to drop, we 100% win. And then as soon as they dropped, the biggest grin went across my face. Right? It was just like I let out like a little chuckle, and I was like, I was gonna say something, but I didn't want to like look like an idiot just in case. I was gonna hit him with like the "You ready to go to Japan, boys?" Like I had that in my head, ready to go.
Yeah, it's so good. Everyone kind of does that thing. That's so good. But yeah, you guys had just such commanding high ground, and you're right. Like, I mean, that fight when they jumped out, it was almost like so unpredictable. I was like, oh fuck, what the hell? But then they started just shooting your Newcastle shield. And then you're like, the shield's gone, we gotta go. And then you took them out. And like then after, it's like once you see that, it's like, oh, okay, they got this. This is the last game. So that was pretty hype. It was pretty freaking hype.
Yeah, it was. It was funny. All of us are celebrating, and Crook is just in tears in that in that end game. Crook is literally sobbing, and Scurry is like, he's like, my arm hurts. I'm gonna have a heart attack.
But this is what makes it so great, man. Is like these types of moments, and it's the best thing to watch. Like it's the best thing to see. And like I said, like I was watching from Lanimals for a long time, so to be able to see it happen was awesome. And like we mentioned before, we're going into Japan, which everybody seems to say is going to be the best event we're going to have so far. Now, I think moving into the actual comp and what's going on with that event, there's probably going to be some major changes made, I would assume, because it's still so far away. But as far as it's going right now, how are you feeling with the comp? How are you feeling with the gun meta? Where's your head at with all of that right now?
If the Mozams got nerfed, I think that the gun meta would be pretty solid right now in terms of like TTK and stuff like that. I think like ARs are still okay. Like Flatline is kind of, you know, it's kind of usable. Nemi and Hemlock are still dominating. But like the secondary meta is literally, if you don't have Mozams, you just die instantly. But if those got toned down, I think we would see like a super, super healthy like balance between like Mastiff play and like SMGs and stuff like that. And yeah, I think that that's really all that's got to happen. Legend meta is kind of weird right now. Everyone's still like feeling out what's good. People are starting to like pick counter comps to deal with the castle and stuff. Like we see Rampart teams and stuff like that. We're still trying to find our footing because our comp doesn't work against Catalyst Castle. You just like, because basically the idea with that comp is you kill people so fast that like they can't really respond, and the Cat Castle comp just stalls so hard that you can't kill them fast enough for anything to like really happen. So we've had to like kind of redesign our basically our whole gameplay from the ground up, and we're still trying to find our footing with our comps.
Good thing we have the BLGS scrims to help that out. They're probably really helping right now.
Oh yeah, they're so helpful for that.
I was actually trying to figure out what your comp was today. I was going through it and I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, okay, so they're not doing the crypto path like that. I'm like, that makes sense. I'm like, I see Valk, Castle, who Cat. I'm like that seems to be the one I'm like, wait a minute, he's banged now. I'm like, okay, and then wait a minute, no, now they're on the conduit horizon because they got to contest, and I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I have no idea what the comp is because like it switches every game actually, so it's like, yeah, it kind of sucks. These scrims aren't even giving you an opportunity.
Yeah, it's really hard for us to find our footing right now, but we'll get it locked in. I'm not too worried about it. We just got to like pretty much just go back to the drawing board and figure out how we're going to do things, because we were really good at like spot to spot gameplay, because of having Crook on crypto. He's really good at finding like places where we could get, and then I would get us there on path with a zip, and we'd be really opportunistically like moving as a unit from spot to spot and then punishing teams around us. But now it's really hard to do that, just because we have Crook on Bang, so we can't see near as far. We're not running the Pathfinder anymore, so we can't really like make these big micro movements where we're going like 150, 200 meters just across the map and like punishing teams. It's a bit of a struggle, but we're figuring it out. We're figuring out what we want to play. Right now, we're playing Bang Cat in Newcastle, with me on Cat, and it was kind of rough today, but I think we'll figure it out.
Yeah, the only thing I'm thinking about that is like, do you think you're missing some of the recon that like some of these teams are getting with like having at least the Valk still when they're hitting evacs and ults and I get like in just
Yeah,
getting that scan? Yeah.
yeah, we could be for sure. I don't know. It's the thing with Valk for us is that it's just always felt like just not a useful pick, because like we play a very flex play style where like we're either getting in zone and bullying those around us, or we're playing like the hardest of hard edges. And Valk is only useful for like one of those, right? She's only really great for like hard edge right now with her new purple perk.
Yeah.
Because like if you play her from zone, like she's pretty useless. You just kind of like sit there and you shoot your gun and you fly around, and sometimes you shoot your rockets, but most of the time you're just kind of useless.
I also find Valk can just like kind of create bad habits where people just get used to like, okay, we just Valk ult from here, and then like it just gets you in bad situations. And like her purple perk does help with that, but that you got to have the purple perk to do it. So it's like regardless,
Yeah,
I find Valk might honestly like be hurtful to some teams if they just kind of crutch on her too much.
yeah, it is for sure.
You were talking about those like gun meta though, and I was really curious to get your opinion because whenever I think of like shotgun meta and I think of the Gibby meta, my mind goes straight to you because I just remember you being like one of the dominant Gibbs in that. Like I remember so many plays, like I was saying at the beginning of the pod, like especially one where you were in like fragment. You're in like the second floor of like one of those 5-story buildings. You throw a bubble down so that it covers just a little bit of the top floor. You take the zip, hop up with. You're on C9 at this time. You guys all slide in
Mm-hmm.
and just roll a lobby,
Yeah,
roll
yeah,
a team, right? Anyways, like that's like it felt like you were like so strong in that massive meta. And if these Mozams get nerfed, it's something we could see again. Does that kind of excite you, or like what do you think about that?
kind of. Yeah, I mean, I honestly like if the Mozams weren't so oppressive, I'm pretty sure we would see a little bit of Gibby coming back. We recently were trying to play Gibby. We were playing the Lanimals comp actually, like the earlier last week. We played a couple days of Gibby Rampart Valk, and it didn't feel that bad. Like, but the problem that we would have is that whenever I peaked on Gibby, the Mozams would just blow me up so fast that like if even if I just jiggled a corner, I'm dead because I'm just a
Mhm.
meatball.
It's not
Um,
fun.
yeah, no, it's
I've been a
not.
Gibby fighting Mozams. Not a good time.
Yeah, you would think like, oh, I'm fortified, I'll be fine. But like, if they have hammers, you're just two tapped because you're ginormous.
Yeah,
Um,
there's too much
yeah,
forgiveness with the ammo. Like even if they do miss, like you're just gonna die.
It's still
yeah,
so crazy to me that when we got it, like when everybody saw that there was going to be a Kimbo, the general assumption from the entire community was, oh, okay, well, that's really cool. The hammers are gone. And it was like, no, they're still here. Like, it still
yeah,
blows my mind. Like, it was the one time where everybody expected something to be taken away, and we were all understanding. Like, hammers are cool, but yeah, it makes sense. There's going to be two of them. And they're like, nah, we're actually keeping it this time. You're like, what?
yeah.
What? Yeah, it's nuts to me. It's nuts.
Did that and increase the rate of fire of them.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like, oh yeah, that's totally fine. Thanks, Respawn.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Well, this has been a great time, man, and I got a couple last questions, and he's got his obviously. I kind of wanted to go into some of the other stuff outside of Apex. You bring up VTubing all the time. I kind of want to talk about that a little bit because I am
Yeah.
not big into it. I know the general consensus of what it is, but for people who don't know, can you kind of explain what exactly is like the vibe of it, I guess?
Well, basically, it's just for streaming if you like don't want to use a cam, but you still want to have like that kind of like connection with your audience in a way. Because like I haven't really enjoyed face camming for a while. I haven't like really done it in the past like year and a half. So to me, it was just kind of a no brainer to get into. But yeah, basically, it's just like a way to kind of like connect with your community and connect with other creators. Like VTubing is just a pretty big community where like people come together and play games and just I don't know. It's just kind of an entertaining way to stream. And
Now, when it came, oh, sorry, go ahead.
it can just add a bit more like chat and streamer interaction. Like for example, like with my kind of like model. I have a lot of stuff set up for like channel point redemptions so that they can trigger stuff that will happen like on my model. So like I have like a bunch of little lizard pets and stuff like that they can like summon or pet or whatever, you know, all that kind of stuff.
When it came to creating the actual model, like what, how much time did you spend on that? Like how much time did you spend kind of like coming together and trying to think of the ideas that you, or I guess the what you wanted it to look like?
It's been in the works for basically I did a subathon about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. And the sub goal was at like 4K subs to make a VTube model. And that's what I hit. So it's been in development for about a year and a half, maybe a little more. Yeah. And the idea for the look, I just thought of something I thought would look kind of cool, to be honest, at least for like the body type and stuff. And picking an artist that like fit what I wanted was definitely a process trying to find, you know, like you have to look through so much art to find people that like you really like the vibe of. And I worked with Cecile. She's like a really, really talented VTube artist. She makes a lot of really, really cool stuff. And I'm really happy I got to work with her. But yeah, we made something pretty cool. I'm trying to still the hardest part is like designing outfits. If you're not like into like fashion at all, like I'm not, it's really hard to come up with outfit designs. So like my first one, it's cool. It's a little scuffed, but it's cool. But I've got a couple more that I'm still trying to design, and it's hard.
I don't know if it would have been possible. But we fumbled not getting him to do the V2 model for this pod.
Yeah, we should have just fucking done it here. Gosh damn it.
I don't know if
would that have been possible?
I don't know if it.
Yeah, it can. It could.
Damn.
That would have been fire. I almost thought about suggesting that when we were messaging. I was like, you can just whip out the model.
Of it, dude. That's so stupid. I want to get back to the fashion part of it, though. Have you ever thought of just doing something completely ridiculous? Like, what if just a plain white T-shirt? Like I don't know, I don't know how that would work, but like just something so different from like what you're seeing regularly.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely could. I could just make like the most plain and chill outfit everywhere. Like
that's what I'm saying, dude. Listen, I'm not a fashion guy. You're not a fashion guy. We don't have to try to be fashion guys. We just throw a white T-shirt on there. There we go. Perfect. Bang. Got it.
I wonder if you could do like if you get picked up by an org, it'd be cool to do some pretty cool org stuff too. Like while you're playing, like
yeah, I could do a lot of sponsor stuff for them with the model and stuff like that. I could, yeah.
Didn't even think
that's awesome.
The sponsorship, yeah. That'd be absolutely
well. The next time we get him on, we're definitely gonna have to put the model up. The model has to be up. Yeah, the model's got to be up. Do you guys have any last ones?
I mean,
I got mine.
Yeah, you got yours. I mean, you don't have to give us anything, but I was curious. Like, you know, champs. You know, I guess there is some time, but you know, with Rostermania and things like that, you don't have to say who or yes or no, but give us like a maybe. Like, is there any org offers coming your way? Do we know? Like, are Stallions going to be represented possibly, or
We've been in talks with some. It's a maybe.
All right.
So far, it's a maybe.
Cool. All right. Well,
Mm.
There we go.
congrats on that then, and wish you the best. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
And
You got it for him?
All right, Al. The question that we have, you've already answered the question that we ask everybody who comes on the pod because you already been.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I have the question that I ask everybody who comes on for their second time. And so that question is, from the last time you were on the pod to now, which it's been some time. It's been a decent amount of time. What is the most important thing you've learned?
Ooh. um.
Take your time to really just mull it over.
Okay. I would say to believe in others the way you want them to believe in you. That's the hardest. That's the hardest thing I've had to learn. Is trusting others the way I want them to trust me.
That's
There we go.
insightful. I love that.
Love
I
it.
love that. And honestly, Al, but like truthfully, we've had you on 2 times, and both times I walked away saying like this guy is able to really like look deep within himself, be like, all right, I got to fix this, I got to fix that, and it's truly a pleasure to watch because you don't always get that with a lot of guys. So I'm very happy to see, and I'm very happy to see where you are right now, heading into Japan. You deserve it. It's been a long time. But I cannot wait to see it. It's going to be a great time. And you made it to the one that I think everybody would want to make it to. So, it's going to be exciting, man. And hopefully by the time we talk to you again, you've got that trophy. That's what we're going for. That's the big one. That would be perfect for the V2 model, is just the trophy just in the hand at all times.
Yeah.
That's the
Just
one
in the
we
background
want.
right there.
Yeah. Well, once again, man, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
man.
luck,
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, ladies and gents, that was Alb. Shout out to Alb for hopping on the pod. Boys, it's time for the heart to heart. And normally I think Jumbo goes first. I feel like E should go first here. Congratulations are in order. Everybody calls him Brother Enoch, Father Enoch now. He is a father. E, how has it been? How are you feeling? And just how's the 2 weeks off been?
Yeah, there's just nothing better. Like, it's just like, I don't know. I'm just grateful. Like, just it's something that I like. The love of a father is just something that you will never experience until you look down and like you see like a little person that you contributed to, and that looks fairly much like you. My son looks like very much like me. I'm so excited. It's gonna be like a little mini me. Like, he definitely has some of my wife's features, but it's gonna be cool. And yeah, I mean, my life has never been better. I have an amazing thing that I do for work. I've got amazing things that I'm working on the side, like this right here, right now. And then when I am going to be getting off of this, I'm going to be able to just go upstairs, hold my son for a while, and then go to bed, and then repeat and do it all the next day. And it's just, life is pretty great. And like, it's really nice to be able to just I like working from home is great because like I can just be like doing my thing and then just go upstairs and then just see my wife, see my son, and then it's just like, okay, all right, that's amazing. Yeah. And then you just go back to doing your work, and it's just pretty cool. And I'm gonna go with gratitude because I'm just like grateful, and I'm excited to just keep on putting in the work, keep on building, because I want to be able to provide the best life I possibly can for my family, and I'm gonna just keep doing that, and it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, man, it's one of the best feelings. I'm super happy for you. It's awesome to see, and it only gets better. I think a lot of times when people become new parents, like a lot of people want to hit you with like, oh, like the kind of like the negativity sometimes. But I feel like there's so much to be happy about in those moments. Like you don't really even need to bring that into account just because it's like so awesome. It's just like one of those. It's just one of those feelings, man. And those moments, those first 2 weeks, I will never forget, because of those moments you just talked about, like just being able to hop off whatever you were doing and just be able to go in there and just see, something that you helped make. So it's awesome, and I'm happy to see it, and I'm happy for you. And that's the perfect heart to heart. I truly think that's the perfect heart to heart. Gratitude, man. Beautiful. Jumba, do you want to hit yours?
Sure. I also just want to add into like, yeah, massive congratulations, and I'm super happy for you. Like I haven't been able to experience anything like that, I feel, but like I can't even imagine how amazing it would feel. Like you said, to just have someone now that you know that you're gonna be able to raise, and like the like in your own image and everything like that. It's just like, it just sounds so special and so amazing. So congrats, dude. Love that for you. It sounds so amazing.
Appreciate it.
My heart to heart, I mean, that's a fucking hard one to follow up, so I don't even know. Uh, I don't know. I'll just say like either like I know we just talked about it, but the BLGS thing, it's already been kind of cool. Like some of the experience, I'm not gonna lie. There's been some moments where it's like when we were kind of doing some ranked practice stuff, like it was like, oh shit, this is like tough. Like this is like trying to like gel with the team, like working on the chemistry, and like there'd be times like, oh my god, like this is gonna be a lot of work. But it was kind of cool that we've been able to talk some things out. Like even working with a coach sometimes, like with some of the advice he gave us, we talked to him one day and we finally got into like a comp, and as soon as we got into scrims, I have never had so much fun playing Apex. The last time I think I had that much fun playing Apex was like year like one, when like season 2, season 3 ranked, when the game wasn't, I don't want to say as sweaty, because like there was a lot of like sweaty players, and like I used to want to be one of them. But I mean, so in the sense of like, there's so many good players now that there's such a big discrepancy. It felt like I used to get a lot of those end games a lot more in ranked. I was grinding every single day. I was always like mid to high diamond, and I haven't had those insane end games since, and I don't know if I could really get those in ranked anymore. But like we got into that scrim lobby, and it was so fun to have like 7 to 9 teams alive in like that 4th to 5th like final zone, and try to make calls for rotation stuff. And yeah, it was so freaking cool. So I'm excited for that. So no real lesson or anything for that, but I just wanted to say pretty excited, pretty cool, and I'm looking forward to that. It's kind of like the main thing on my mind. And I also have a ton of passion to play Apex. I haven't wanted to play Apex really at all too much in the last couple of years, just because I'm so focused on editing. And now every day I'm thinking I wonder if I get time to like get on the game today. So
Yeah. No, it's I love that. I love hearing about the BLGS stuff. It's awesome. My heart to heart this week. I don't even know if I really have a lesson. I've mentioned on this pod though that I love October. I love Halloween. And this year, this is just a story. My oldest daughter, she's like very interested in like scary movies and stuff. So I made like a wheel. Obviously I looked up scary movies that were like suitable, because there's a lot that are not. And so I looked up like a wheel, and I got like a wheel online, and I just inputted the names of like certain scary movies, and every day except for today, obviously, so we're going to double up on the weekend. We're going to click the wheel and just pick a movie, and we're just going to watch it and just chill. And I think it's super important, because when you do have like a little one, sometimes the older one can feel like a little left out sometimes. And this is always our favorite holiday. And before the little one was here, it was always like our favorite thing to like, we go to the Halloween store all the time and like look at decorations around the neighborhood and stuff like that. And I don't want her to lose any of that, with the little one here. So made this little thing up. We've only watched one so far. It was Poltergeist. And that one I had never even seen before. Not that bad of a movie, pretty decent movie. So yeah, so we still got a lot more left to go, and I'm excited. I love this month. It's super fun. I have a great time with it every single year. And dude, Black Ops 6 this is the month. This is the month it comes out.
I
It
have no
comes out
time.
this month,
I
dude.
can't wait.
I'm so excited. It's at the end of the month, and yeah, I can't wait. We got some Packapod stuff out. Actually, Packapod did kind of well this last episode.
Yeah,
Like,
if we haven't
decent.
talked about it, but it was kind of like
No.
2,800 views. It kind of went crazy.
It kind of went crazy.
Or
Like, yeah.
with like 50 subs, like anything like that. And it was kind of cool to see like even the couple of comments there. about our rankings. And dude, I had someone pop in my stream the other day and said like, it's like, you guys, I just finished listening to your rankings and you guys are getting me to play Apex or Black Ops again. Now I want to be honest.
Yeah.
I think he's a GMB listener or like maybe a Apex listener, pod listener who came to my who went to Pack Pod who then also came to my stream.
Yeah.
Just kind of cool that there's people like that watching everything. But yeah.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. It's awesome. We got a tree of great shows going on right now, but I cannot wait. So, ladies and gents, that should just about do it for my heart to heart, and that should just about do it for the show. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. Don't forget, if you want to check us out, if you're listening on audio, you can check us out on YouTube to get the full versions of our faces. And if you're on the go and you feel like you can't watch it, you can always listen to the audio version. Ladies and gents, we'll catch you guys next week for another episode of the Apex the Podcast. See ya.